name's James Willoughby, and I work at Volumod. I grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana. My father was an addict. He got sober for a while, so I wasn't exposed to that lifestyle at probably from the age of 8 to 16. But after that, he relapsed again, and I got introduced to. I wasn't raised. I just kind of grew up through the streets, and that exposed me to drugs when he relapsed. And I started smoking marijuana when I was 13. And I started using cocaine when I was 18. And in my early 20s, it was spice and meth. And then when I turned about 28, I started using the needle. I had been to church a few times here and there as a child, but I didn't really know what God was. I just know that, my family had went there from time to time to get food and stuff. Like I didn't really understand what Jesus meant, like what he did. I just had a broken home, and there was no real structure or stability there. It was, kind of like fend for yourself. So I relied on other, my friends to take care of me, and we was all growing up in broken homes. So, I was one of the unlucky ones that got exposed to the drug lifestyle. There was others that didn't get involved in that, and I just happened to be one of the unfortunate ones to follow that path. I started smoking weed, skipping school, and by the time I was 16, I went to New Directions Academy, and my mom finally signed me out because they was threatening to lock me up. And that was probably the biggest mistake I ever made, was to dropping out of school. And then from there on out, I was just running the streets. That was it. Pretty much get over on anybody I could to get what I wanted. A very destructive lifestyle. I did good for a while. I had kids, and a chain of events happened. I lost a son, and he was stillborn, so I kind of lost my way when that happened, and that's when the real hard drugs started. And I took that kind of hard. I've got a daughter that's older than he would have been, and I didn't want to be around my kids. I started using. That's when the meth started. We had a fire in 2015, and I lost 35% of my body. I was smoking spice, had catfish cooking on the stove. Somebody had a power line, and the power went out. Well, I was high smoking spice, so I thought I would be awake. When the power come back on to finish cooking, so I just kept smoking spice and passed out. The power come back on, and guess what? I was asleep and the stove was on. And so the house caught on fire. She woke me up saying, "Fire, fire." I thought my youngest son was still there. And his grandmother had come gotten him while I was asleep, thank God. But she had ran out the door, and I went looking for him because I didn't know he wasn't gone. So then I looked in his bedroom, he wasn't there, and the last place to look is where the fire was. And I figured if my son ain't coming out, I'm not coming out neither. I'm not coming out without him. And that's how I got burnt, trying to put the fire out. His mother actually had to drag me out of the fire. There's no way I should have made it out. I should have been dead. I was on the ground, melted to the linoleum. And I don't know, I had given up. And I don't know, but my Aunt Lisa, she's no longer with us, but she told me that God sent his angels to pick me up, and I believe her. There's no way I should have made it out of there. I just completely let go of my life after that. The woman that had my back through the whole ordeal, she ended up doing the right thing and just giving up on me. She eventually got her life together. Now she's a nurse, and she's really responsible, so that's the best for my kid. I After that, I completely went downhill. There was no stopping me. Uh, it was the meth, the needle. I don't even know why I'm here today. God's the only reason why I'm here. And rebuilt. Before the fire, I think I had done meth a few times at my father's house, but really after the fire, it was meth all the time. That's all I wanted. I had nightmares from the fire. I'd wake up and feel like I was on fire, and so I didn't want to sleep, and I really didn't have nowhere to go, so and no money for food. So I figured that was the excuse was, if I don't have a place to go or something or a way to feed myself, I can do meth, and I won't have the urge to sleep or be hungry. That didn't work out very well for me. Yeah, it was over with. I'd given up. I'd lost everything. In reality, I didn't deserve nothing that I had, so God took it away from me, to show me it was done. I didn't care who I hurt, how I did it. As long as it benefited me, I was doing it. I had no respect for anybody. I didn't even have respect for myself. I had seen Brian. He came through the Greene County Jail because I was a frequent flyer there. There's no doubt about it. They all knew me by name, every jailer there. And Brian would come in and preach to us every now and again. And he was like, this was way before Rebuilt was ever a thing. He was like, I'm getting ready to start a rehab, and I'm going to help some of you guys. And I didn't think nothing of it, but I told him I would go. And the first time I went there, I don't even think I was even there to get clean. I think it was just to have a place to stay. I don't think I was ready yet to quit. And the director, he's pretty stern on, you're either in it or you're out. You want this help or you don't. I wasn't willing to give up on a few things that I was dwelling on, so I ended up leaving. And I went to several rehabs after that, in and out of jail. And I was like, I went to 3 rehabs and ain't none of this working. I need to go back there. And a couple years ago, I went back. After I went to jail, it was a horrible night. I thought people were chasing me. I called the police on myself and told them I had somebody chasing me, shooting at me. There wasn't none of that happening. It was the drugs. It made me think that. I ran from myself all the way from Terre Haute to Bloomfield, and there was nobody behind me. I called the police on myself, and thank God I did that, because I ended up going to jail, spending a week there for driving while suspended, and I got out and I'm like, hey, I'm going to Rebuilt. And I went there and I never looked back. Rebuilt is a 7-month program. It's a faith-based. It's focused on Jesus. You spend your first 40 days with no contact, like a cell phone or no job. This is just a time for you to focus on, letting things go and, developing a relationship with God. And after your 40 days, you're allowed to have a phone. You're allowed to have a job. They do their best to provide you with the right people to get you employment. There's not many jobs in that area, but they do their best. Nobody goes hungry there. There's always something for somebody to do. I stayed there for a couple more months, and they kept telling me about Volumod. Mike Keenapple would come and tell us about Volumod. Ethan had come and told us about Volumod. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be the first person to go there. And I kept, telling myself that. And I've noticed since I graduated, since I've been to Rebuild, if I tell somebody I'm going to do something, I do it. Before, I met God, I didn't have that. Like I could tell you I'm going to do something, and I wouldn't do it on purpose. Now I've developed accountability, through the reprogramming of this program, and I'm a completely changed person. Before I got clean, everything was God's fault. Everything. Like my manager's yelling at me, "Oh, that's God's fault. Why, God, are you doing this to me?" And after I got clean and went to rebuild, it's where the accountability kicks in. That was my fault. And now, since I've got to know God and felt the Spirit, it's not God. It was me. I was my own worst enemy. And I'd say that what makes Volumod different is they pour that same love that Rebuilt poured on to me. They pour the same love onto me here. When I got here though, John Gammon has been a big part of my sobriety here. He stays on top of me. He makes sure I'm doing the right thing. Anybody coming from a rehab here, they will have structure. I got a purpose. I'm somebody here. I may not have a title, but my opinion matters. And I'm very important. Being here, working at Volumod has given me purpose. Like, we're doing something here. I mean, we're changing lives.